You're walking through a city in the year 1392. The streets are narrow, the air is cold, and somewhere, in a building you cannot yet see, there is a sound. Not the roar of the blacksmith's forge, not the clang of the farrier shoeing horses in the square. This is different. This is the sound of cold metal ringing, a higher pitch, a clearer tone, a sound that echoes off stone walls and carries through alleyways like a bell that never stops. You follow the sound, down one street, around a corner, past the bakery where the ovens glow, past the chandler's shop where tallow candles hang in rows, and then you see it. A wooden door reinforced with iron straps, a sign above it painted with a gauntlet holding a hammer, the armory. You push open the door, and the sound becomes louder. You step inside, and the world changes. The armory is not like the forge. The forge is fire and chaos. The forge is the dragon's breath, the volcano's heart, but the armory is different. The armory is cold work and precision. Yes, there is a fire here, a charcoal fire in a brick hearth, glowing orange in the corner, but the fire is smaller, controlled. It heats the metal just enough and no more. The armory is where steel becomes something else, not a blade, not a tool, but a second skin. The smell hits you first. It is the smell of oil, linseed oil rubbed into steel to prevent rust. The smell is thick and organic, almost sweet. Beneath it, the sharper scent of charcoal burning. And beneath that, something metallic. Not the hot iron smell of the forge, but the cold smell of worked steel. A smell like coins, like blood, like the earth after rain. The light in the armory is dim. Sunlight filters through high windows, cutting through the air in dusty shafts. The walls are lined with wooden benches. On the benches, tools, hammers of every size, hammers with round faces, hammers with flat faces, hammers with faces so polished they reflect like mirrors, shears for cutting steel, stakes of hardwood carved into different shapes, anvils smaller than the blacksmith's anvil with rounded tops, and everywhere sheets of metal, some gray and rough, some polished and gleaming, some curved into shapes you cannot quite name. In the center of the room, the armorer works. He is not young, his hair is gray. His arms are thick with muscle, but the muscle is lean and ropey, the muscle of repetition rather than brute strength. His hands are scarred, his fingers are thick, but his movements are precise. He does not hurry, he does not rush. Every motion is deliberate. Every strike of the hammer is exactly where it needs to be. He works on a piece of steel, a sheet of steel. It lies on the bench before him, flat and gray, medium carbon steel, not the soft iron used for horseshoes, not the high carbon steel used for sword blades. Something in between. Steel that will bend without breaking. Steel that will hold its shape under pressure. Steel that will stop a lance, turn a sword, resist an arrow. The armorer picks up the sheet. It is roughly rectangular, perhaps 2 feet wide, 3 feet long, heavy. The steel is perhaps an eighth of an inch thick, thin enough to work, thick enough to protect. He holds it up to the light, turning it, examining the surface, looking for flaws, looking for cracks, looking for impurities in the metal. There are none. This is good steel, steel from a good mill. Steel that has been folded and hammered and folded again until the iron and carbon are mixed evenly throughout. He sets the sheet down on the bench. Next to the bench there is a pattern, not a pattern made of paper or parchment, a pattern made of thin iron. It looks like a tailor's pattern for a doublet, but larger. Curved pieces of metal cut and shaped that when laid out form the outline of a human torso. The chest, the back, the shoulders, the arms. Each piece has a number scratched into it. Each piece fits with the others like a puzzle. The armorer selects one piece of the pattern, the central piece, the breastplate pattern. He lays it on the sheet of steel. He traces around it with a piece of soft chalk. White lines on gray metal. The curve of the chest, the swell where the ribs are, the narrowing at the waist, the flare at the shoulders. It is the map of a body translated into steel. He sets the pattern aside. He picks up the shears. Large shears as long as your forearm with thick blades and handles wrapped in leather. He positions the shears at the edge of the chalk line. He squeezes. The blades bite into the steel. There is a sound like fabric tearing, but deeper, lower, the sound of metal parting. He cuts slowly, following the line. The shears move through the steel in small bites. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The scraps fall away, curling as they drop. The breastplate shape emerges from the sheet. When the cutting is done, he sets the shears aside. He picks up the cut piece. It is still flat, still a sheet, but now it is the right size, the right shape. Now begins the real work. Now begins the transformation. He walks to the fire. The charcoal glows orange. He places the steel plate into the fire, leaning it against the back of the hearth so the flames lick across its surface. He does not bury it in the coals. He does not want it white hot. He wants it red, cherry red, the color of sunrise, hot enough to move, not hot enough to burn. He waits, watching the metal, watching the color change. Gray becomes brown. Brown becomes red. Red deepens, deepens. The steel begins to glow from within. The armorer nods. He takes up a pair of long tongs. He grips the edge of the glowing plate. He lifts it from the fire. The plate glows in the dim light of the armory. It radiates heat. You can feel it from across the room. The armorer carries it to a wooden stump. The stump is perhaps waist-high, thick as a man's torso, cut from oak. Its top is flat and worn smooth from years of use. The grain is visible, compressed and darkened. This is the raising stake. The armorer positions the glowing plate on top of the stump. He holds it with the tongs in his left hand. In his right hand, he takes up a hammer, not a small hammer, a raising hammer. The head is perhaps 5 pounds. The face is flat and round, perhaps 3 inches across. The handle is smooth hardwood, worn from thousands of grips. He begins to strike. The first blow lands near the center of the plate. There is a sound, clang. The sound rings out, clear and pure, filling the armory. The steel deforms slightly, denting downward where the hammer struck. The armorer strikes again. Clang, another dent, another ring. He works in a circle, striking around the center point. Each blow is the same weight, the same force, the same angle. Clang, clang, clang. The rhythm is steady, hypnotic, like a heartbeat, like the tick of a great clock. The steel begins to change. With each strike, it moves. The center where he is striking begins to sink. The edges remain flat, but the middle curves downward, forming a shallow bowl. The armorer rotates the plate slightly after each blow. Strike, rotate, strike, rotate, strike, rotate, clang, clang, clang. The sound never changes. The rhythm never breaks. The red glow begins to fade. The steel cools. It shifts from cherry red to a duller red. The armorer stops. He carries the plate back to the fire. He places it in the coals again. He waits, watches. The color returns, cherry red. He takes it out again, back to the stump. The hammer rises and falls. Clang, clang, clang. This is the raising. This is how flat steel becomes curved steel. Not through casting, not through pouring molten metal into a mold, through hammering, through the patient application of force. Each strike pushes the metal a tiny bit. Each strike stretches it, compresses it, moves it. And slowly, blow by blow, heat by heat, the steel takes on a new shape. The curve deepens. What was a shallow bowl becomes a deeper bowl. The armorer adjusts his technique. He strikes closer to the edges now, forcing them to curve as well. The plate begins to take on the shape of a human chest, convex, rounded, the center higher than the edges. He works the top differently than the bottom. The top, where the collarbones are, needs to be flatter. The middle, where the sternum is, needs to be higher, a ridge. The bottom, where the abdomen is, needs to curve back in. He heats the plate, he strikes it. He heats it again, he strikes it again. Heat and strike, heat and strike. The rhythm is eternal, the sound is constant. Clang, 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 your ears ring with it. Your mind settles into the rhythm. It is hypnotic, meditative. The same sound over and over, like waves on a shore, like rain on a roof. Clang, clang, clang. The armorer does not speak. He does not pause to rest. His breathing is steady. His movements are automatic. He has done this 10,000 times before. He has shaped 1,000 breastplates. His hands know the work. His arms know the rhythm. His eyes can judge the curve without measuring. This is not thought. This is craft. This is muscle memory refined over decades. The plate returns to the fire, returns to the stump. The hammer rises and falls. The steel curves more, more. The armorer moves around the stump, working from different angles, striking the plate from the side, from the top, encouraging the metal to flow in specific directions, creating the complex compound curves that will fit a human body, not a simple dome, not a sphere, but the specific geometry of ribs and muscle and bone. Hours pass. The light in the armory shifts. Morning becomes afternoon. The shadows move across the floor. The fire is fed more charcoal. The hammer never stops. Clang, clang, clang. The sound is the heartbeat of the armory. The sound is the pulse of creation. Finally, after countless heatings, countless blows, the armorer sets down his hammer. He picks up the breastplate, for it is a breastplate now, no longer a flat sheet, and examines it. He turns it over, looks at it from the inside. From the outside, holds it up to catch the light. The shape is right. The curves are right, but the surface is rough, covered in dents from the raising hammer. Each strike has left its mark. The steel looks like the surface of the moon, cratered, pockmarked. This is not finished. This is raw. Now comes the smoothing. The armorer sets the rough breastplate on the bench. He walks to another part of the room, to a different set of tools. He picks up a hammer. This hammer is smaller, lighter, perhaps 2 pounds, but its face is different. The face of this hammer is polished, polished like glass, polished like a mirror. You can see your reflection in the face of this hammer. This is a planishing hammer. Next to the bench is another stake, not the thick wooden stump. This stake is metal, iron, perhaps 18 inches tall, mounted on a heavy base. The top of the stake is rounded, smooth, polished. Its shape is like the inside of a breastplate, convex, curved to match the curves that have been raised. The armorer does not heat the breastplate this time. The planishing is done cold. He positions the breastplate on the stake. The inside of the breastplate rests against the rounded top of the stake. The outside faces up. He picks up the planishing hammer. He begins to strike. The sound is different now, not the deep clang of the raising, but a lighter sound. Ting, 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 higher pitched, faster. The blows are lighter, quicker. The hammer face hits the steel and bounces back. The armorer's wrist moves in quick, controlled flicks. Ting-ting-ting, ting-ting-ting. 3 quick strikes. Move the breastplate slightly. 3 more strikes. Ting-ting-ting. With each strike, the dents from the raising begin to disappear. The hammer face is flat and polished. It pushes the high spots down. The stake underneath supports the metal, preventing it from deforming inward. The result is that the surface becomes smoother, flatter. The hammering compresses the steel, work hardening it, making it stronger. And the polished face of the hammer burnishes the steel, beginning to bring out a shine. The armorer works systematically. He divides the breastplate in his mind into sections. He works one section completely before moving to the next. Ting-ting-ting, ting-ting-ting. The sound is rapid, constant, like the ticking of 1,000 tiny clocks, like rain on a metal roof. It fills the armory. It fills your mind. The rhythm is faster than the raising, but just as hypnotic. Your breathing synchronizes with it. Ting-ting-ting. Breathe. Ting-ting-ting. Breathe. The light catches on the steel as the armorer works. Where before the surface was dull and rough, now it begins to shine. Patches of smoothness appear, grow, spread. The armorer rotates the breastplate on the stake, works a new area. Ting-ting-ting, ting-ting-ting. The sound never stops. The rhythm never breaks. He works the same areas multiple times. The first pass removes the largest dents. The second pass removes smaller imperfections. The third pass makes the surface truly smooth. Each pass, the strikes become lighter, gentler, more precise. The armorer's eyes are close to the work. He examines each square inch, looking for any remaining irregularity, any bump, any divot. His trained eye can see imperfections you could never detect, and he corrects them. Ting-ting-ting, one strike at a time. The hours pass. The afternoon light deepens, takes on a golden quality. The planishing continues. Ting-ting-ting, ting-ting-ting. The sound is meditative, trance-inducing. If you close your eyes, you can see the hammer falling, can feel the vibration of the strikes, can sense the gradual transformation of rough steel into smooth steel. The armorer's hands move automatically. His muscles know this rhythm, have performed this motion 10,000 times, 100,000 times. The planishing hammer rises and falls. Rises and falls, like breathing, like a heartbeat. Ting-ting-ting, ting-ting-ting. Slowly the breastplate emerges. The surface becomes smooth as glass, smooth as water. When the light hits it, it reflects cleanly, clearly. You can see the windows reflected in the steel, can see the rafters above. The steel has become a mirror, a curved, compound mirror, but more than that, it has become hard. The planishing has work-hardened the surface, compressed the grain structure, made it denser, stronger. This steel will resist a sword blow, will turn a lance point, will keep its wearer alive. The armorer finally sets down the planishing hammer. He picks up the breastplate and examines it one final time in the fading light. He turns it slowly, watching the reflections slide across its surface, checking for any remaining imperfections. There are none. The breastplate is smooth, perfect. The curves are right. The surface is right. This is one piece of the armor, one piece of many, but it is complete. He sets the breastplate aside carefully, on a wooden rack built for this purpose. The breastplate hangs there, gleaming, but the work is not done. An armored man is not simply a breastplate. An armored man is dozens of pieces, each piece protecting a different part of the body, each piece shaped to allow movement, to allow the wearer to walk, to run, to fight, to raise his arms above his head, to bend at the waist, to kneel. The armor must protect, but it must also allow motion, and that means joints. That means articulation. That means the most difficult work of all. The armorer returns to his bench, to his patterns. He selects another piece, not the breastplate pattern, a smaller piece, a different shape. This pattern is for a shoulder defense, a pauldron. The pauldron must cover the shoulder joint, must protect the upper arm, but must allow the arm to move in its socket, to raise, to rotate, to reach. This is not a simple curve. This is multiple curves, multiple plates, each overlapping the next, each able to slide against the others, like the scales of a fish, like the tiles on a roof. He takes another sheet of steel, lays out the pattern, not one piece, many pieces, 5 small pieces for each pauldron, each piece a slightly different size, a slightly different curve. He marks them with chalk, numbers them, front piece, middle pieces, back piece. He picks up the shears, begins to cut. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The steel parts along the chalk lines. The pieces fall free. 5 pieces for the right shoulder, 5 pieces for the left shoulder, 10 pieces total. Each piece must be raised, each piece must be shaped, each piece must be planished smooth. The armorer picks up the first piece, carries it to the fire, places it in the coals, waits for the cherry-red glow, carries it to the raising stump, takes up the raising hammer, begins to strike. Clang, clang, clang. The rhythm returns, the heartbeat of the armory, the pulse of transformation. But the shoulder pieces are smaller than the breastplate. The curves are tighter. The armorer uses a different stake for the raising, a smaller wooden stake, rounded more sharply. He works more carefully, more precisely. These pieces must fit together exactly, must overlap by just the right amount. Too much overlap and the shoulder will be rigid. Too little and there will be gaps, vulnerable points. The hammer falls, clang, clang, clang. The steel curves, becomes a shallow shell, a segment of a sphere. Heat and strike, heat and strike. The first piece takes shape, then the second, then the third. The armorer works through them systematically, one after another. Each heating is shorter, each raising session is briefer. The pieces are smaller, require less metal to move, but the precision required is greater. Clang, 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 the sound echoes, the fire glows. the steel curves. When all 10 pieces are raised, rough and dented but properly shaped, the armorer begins the planishing. He takes up the small planishing hammer, positions the first shoulder piece on a smaller stake, a stake shaped for these tighter curves, and begins ting-ting-ting, ting-ting-ting, the quick rhythm, the rapid strikes, the surface smooths, becomes glossy, reflective, one piece, then the next, ting-ting-ting, ting-ting-ting. The sound fills the armory, fills the evening. The light outside has dimmed. The sun is setting, but the work continues. The hammer falls. Ting-ting-ting, ting-ting-ting. The armorer lights a candle, then another. The armory fills with flickering yellow light. The shadows deepen, dance on the walls. The steel gleams in the candlelight. The armorer continues his work. He does not seem tired, does not seem hurried. The rhythm is eternal, has always been, will always be. Ting-ting-ting, ting-ting-ting. The shoulder pieces, one by one, become smooth, become perfect. He sets them aside on the bench. They lie in a row. 10 curved pieces of steel. Beautiful, precise. But these pieces cannot simply be left separate. They must be joined, connected, made to work as one unit while maintaining the ability to move. This requires hardware, rivets, hinges, sliding connections. The armorer turns to a wooden box on his bench. Inside are brass rivets, small cylinders of brass, perhaps a 1/4 inch in diameter, half an inch long. These rivets will hold the plates together, but they must be placed exactly, drilled exactly, peened over exactly. One rivet in the wrong place, and the whole assembly will jam, will not move, will trap the wearer's arm in one position. The armorer picks up a scratch-awl, a pointed tool. He positions 2 of the shoulder pieces on the bench, overlapping them by precisely the right amount. He marks through the top piece into the bottom piece, a tiny scratch in the steel. This is where the rivet will go. He marks 3 points of connection, 3 rivets. He sets the top piece aside, picks up a drill, a hand drill, a bow drill, the kind that works with a leather thong wrapped around a spindle, back and forth motion. The drill bit is thin, hardened steel, sharp. He places the point of the drill bit on the first mark. He begins to work the bow back and forth. The drill spins, bites into the steel, makes a small shrieking sound, metal on metal. He drips water on the drill point to cool it, to keep the bit from overheating. The drill goes deeper, through the steel. He can feel when it breaks through the other side. He stops, removes the drill, blows away the metal shavings. A perfect round hole, perhaps a 1/16 of an inch in diameter. Small, precise. He drills the other 2 holes. Then he picks up the second piece. He carefully aligns it with the first piece. The marks line up with the holes. He places the drill bit through the first hole into the mark below, drills through the second piece, through the second mark, through the third. Now both pieces have matching holes, 3 holes in each, 6 holes total. He takes a brass rivet, slides it through the first hole, through both layers of steel. The rivet protrudes from both sides. He places the bottom side of the assembly on a small anvil, a flat anvil, just large enough to support the work. He takes a ball-peen hammer, a small hammer with 1 flat face and 1 rounded face. He uses the flat face to tap the end of the rivet. Gently, the brass mushrooms, spreads, forms a head. He taps around the circumference. The head grows, becomes a neat, round dome. He flips the work over, taps the other end, forms another head. The 2 pieces of steel are now connected, but the rivet is not tight. There is play. The pieces can slide against each other. This is intentional. This is necessary. The shoulder must articulate. He inserts the second rivet, peens it over, the third rivet, peens it over. 2 pieces are now connected, are now one assembly, but they can move, can slide. He picks them up, flexes them, they move smoothly. The brass rivets slide in their holes. The steel plates overlap and separate, overlap and separate. Good. He picks up the third piece, positions it overlapping the second, marks the holes, drills them, adds the rivets. Now 3 pieces move together, then the fourth, then the fifth, 5 pieces, each connected to the next, each able to slide over the one below it. The complete pauldron takes shape. When he flexes it, it curves and straightens, expands and contracts, like a living thing, like muscle under skin. The brass rivets catch the candlelight. The steel gleams. This is a shoulder defense. This is armor. He sets it aside, begins work on the second pauldron. The left shoulder, the same process. 5 pieces, cut, raised, planished, drilled, riveted, clang, clang, ting-ting-ting, drill, tap, tap. The sounds layer over each other. The rhythm continues. The night deepens. Outside the armory, the city sleeps. But inside, the work continues. The fire glows. The hammer falls. The steel transforms. The left pauldron is complete. 2 pauldrons now sit on the bench, matching, mirror images of each other, each a beautiful piece of functional art. The armorer examines them in the candlelight, flexes them, checks their movement. Satisfied, he sets them with the breastplate, 3 pieces of the armor, 3 pieces of dozens. He returns to the pattern, selects the next pieces, the arm defenses, the vambraces. These will cover the forearm from wrist to elbow, long, narrow pieces, curved to wrap around the arm, each vambrace made of 2 pieces, an upper piece and a lower piece, connected by a hinge on one side, a buckle on the other, so they can open, can close around the arm, can be secured. He takes up steel sheets, marks them, cuts them, 4 pieces, 2 for each arm, carries them to the fire. The cycle begins again. Heat, strike, clang, clang, clang. But these pieces are different. They are not bowl-shaped. They are cylindrical, curved to match the curve of an arm. The armorer uses a different stake, a cylindrical stake, iron, smooth, mounted horizontally. He lays the heated steel over this stake, strikes it from above. The steel wraps around the stake, curves, becomes a half-cylinder, almost a tube, but open on one side. Heat and strike, heat and strike. The vambraces take shape, 4 long pieces, each curved, each smooth after planishing, each gleaming in the light. The armorer drills holes along one edge of each piece, prepares them for hinges, small hinges made of brass, carefully formed. Each hinge is 2 small plates connected by a pin. He rivets the hinge plates to the steel, 1 plate on each piece. The pin slides through, connects them. Now the vambrace can open like a clamshell, can swing wide, can close around an arm. He attaches leather straps to the other edge, straps with buckles, to secure the vambrace once it is closed, to hold it tight. He tests the movement, opens the vambrace, closes it. The hinge works smoothly. The curve is right. It would fit around an arm perfectly. He sets it aside, works on the others, 3 more vambraces, hinged, strapped, ready. The night is deep now. The candles have burned low. The armorer replaces them. New candles, fresh light. He does not stop, does not rest. The work has its own momentum, its own logic. Each piece leads to the next. Each piece is part of a whole, a complete harness, a full suit of plate armor, protection for every part of the body, from the top of the head to the tips of the toes. He turns to the pattern for the leg defenses, the cuisses for the thighs, the polins for the knees, the greaves for the shins, the sabatons for the feet. Each piece must be shaped, must be articulated, must allow the wearer to walk, to run, to kneel, to mount a horse. The legs are complex, many joints, hip, knee, ankle. Each joint requires multiple plates, overlapping, sliding, moving. He begins with the cuisses, large pieces, covering the thighs. These are similar to the vambraces, curved to wrap around the leg, but larger, longer. He cuts the patterns, heats the steel, raises it, clang, clang, clang. The rhythm has returned, has never left. The hammer falls, the steel curves, the fire glows, clang, clang, clang. The work continues, hour after hour, piece after piece. The pile of completed pieces grows. Breastplate, pauldrons, vambraces, cuisses, each piece perfect, each piece smooth, each piece waiting to be assembled into a complete suit. But we have not yet reached that point. The pieces are ready. The main plates are shaped. But now they must be made to move together, must be connected into a system, a framework, an exoskeleton of steel that a man can wear and fight in. The armorer sets down his hammer. He looks at the pieces spread across his benches. So many pieces, so much work. Each piece hours of labor, days of labor. And yet this is only the beginning. The shaping is done. But the articulation remains. The connection. The transformation of separate plates into living armor. Armor that breathes with the wearer, moves with the wearer, protects the wearer while allowing him to be fully human, fully capable. He picks up the breastplate again, turns it in his hands, solid, strong, but alone it is only a shell. It must be connected to the backplate, the two halves of the torso defense. He retrieves the backplate from where it hangs, another large piece, also raised, also planished, the same hours of work, the same attention. He positions the breastplate and backplate together, edge to edge, imagining them on a body, wrapped around a torso, enclosing, protecting. They must be joined at the sides, with straps, with buckles, so they can be opened, so a man can step into them, so they can be closed around him, secured, but more than that, they must be joined so they flex slightly, so they accommodate the expansion of the chest with breathing, the movement of the body, leather straps, wide leather straps, riveted to one edge, buckled to the other. The armorer measures carefully, marks the positions, drills the holes, the drill winds, the metal shavings fall. He takes leather straps, already prepared, cut to width, holes punched, brass buckles sewn on. He positions a strap, inserts a rivet through the leather, through the steel, peens it over. The leather is secured, permanent. The buckle faces outward, ready to receive the mating strap from the other piece. He works systematically. 4 straps, 2 on each side, spaced evenly from shoulder to hip, each strap riveted to the breastplate, each strap terminating in a buckle. Then he turns to the backplate, marks positions, drills, attaches straps, but these straps are different. They have no buckles. Instead, they have holes. Holes that will accept the buckle tongues from the breastplate straps. Multiple holes, so the fit can be adjusted, so the armor can be tightened or loosened as needed. He tests the connection, holds the breastplate and backplate apart, brings them together as if around an invisible torso, threads the backplate straps through the breastplate buckles. The fit is good, the alignment is correct. When buckled, the two pieces would form a complete torso defense, a shell of steel, hinged with leather, opened and closed like a locket. But the torso defense is not separate from the rest of the armor. It must connect to the pauldrons, to the arm defenses, to the leg defenses, to the helmet. Each connection must be strong, must be secure, but must also allow movement, must allow the pieces to articulate against each other without binding, without catching. This is the challenge. This is where craft becomes art. The pauldrons must attach to the shoulders of the breastplate, but they must rotate, must rise and fall with the movement of the arm. The armorer drills holes in the top edge of the breastplate, small holes, precisely placed. Then he takes brass wire, thick brass wire. He forms it into small loops, rivets the loops to the inside surface of the pauldrons, matching positions. Now the pauldrons can be suspended from the breastplate. The wire loops hang from the holes drilled in the breastplate. The pauldrons hang from the loops. They can swing, can rotate, can move freely, but they are attached, are part of the whole. He tests the movement, holds the breastplate with one hand, the pauldron with the other, moves the pauldron through the range of motion an arm would make. Up, down, forward, back, rotation. The pauldron moves smoothly, the brass loops slide in their holes. The overlapping plates of the pauldron itself slide against each other. The whole assembly flexes and moves, like a living shoulder, like a mechanical joint. Beautiful, functional. He attaches the second pauldron, tests it. Good. The shoulder defenses are now integrated into the torso defense. 3 major pieces now work as one, but there are more connections to make. The vambraces must attach to the pauldrons. The cuisses must attach to the bottom edge of the breastplate. Each connection requires thought, requires planning, requires precise drilling and riveting and shaping of small brass or leather components. The night wears on. The candles burn, the armorer works. His hands never stop. His mind is focused. Each connection is a small puzzle, a small problem to solve. And he has solved these problems 1,000 times before. His experience guides him. His muscle memory guides him. The drill, the rivet, the hammer, ting, tap, slide, test, adjust. Perfect. The leg defenses are particularly complex. The cuisses hang from the bottom edge of the breastplate, suspended by leather straps. But they must be able to swing forward and back with the movement of walking, running, fighting. The armorer attaches the straps with careful attention to their angle, their length, tests the movement, adjusts, tests again. The cuisses swing freely. Good. The polins, the knee defenses, must connect the cuisses to the greaves, the shin defenses. But knees bend. Knees flex through a wide range of motion. The polin itself is made of multiple plates, a large plate covering the front of the knee, smaller plates above and below, all connected with sliding rivets, articulated. The top edge of the polin connects to the bottom edge of the cuisse. The bottom edge connects to the top edge of the greave. Leather straps, buckles, carefully positioned so that when the knee bends, the plates slide over each other. Protect the joint through its full range of motion. No gaps, no binding. The armorer works on each polin, 4 for a complete pair of legs. No, two polins, 1 for each knee. He shapes them, articulates them, tests them, bends them, straightens them. The movement is smooth. The protection is complete. He attaches them between the cuisses and greaves. Now the leg defenses are complete, full leg harnesses, from hip to ankle, articulated at the hip, at the knee, protective, mobile. The greaves end just above the ankle. The feet require their own defenses. Sabatons, articulated foot coverings, made of many small plates, overlapping like roof tiles, allowing the foot to flex, to point, to walk over uneven ground. The armorer has these pieces already prepared, made earlier. He attaches them now, connecting them to the greaves with leather hinges, so the foot can flex at the ankle, can move naturally. The sabatons have smooth steel soles, slightly pointed toes. They would make a strange sound on cobblestones, a metallic tapping, the sound of an armored man walking. The main plates are shaped, the articulations are complete, the major pieces of the harness are connected, but there is still work to be done. Many small pieces remain, tassets to protect the upper thighs and groin, bissages to cover the armpit joints where the pauldrons meet the breastplate, gauntlets for the hands, a gorget for the neck, a helmet for the head. Each piece requires the same care, the same precision, the same hours of work. The armorer begins on the tassets, hanging plates, multiple small plates riveted together, suspended from the waist of the breastplate, hanging down to protect the hips and thighs, the places the cuisses do not cover. He cuts the patterns, small curved rectangles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plates for each tasset. He heats them, raises them, clang, clang, the familiar sound, the eternal rhythm. He planishes them. Ting-ting-ting, smooths them, makes them shine, drills them, rivets them together, each plate overlapping the next, able to slide over it. He attaches the completed tassets to the breastplate, hanging from brass loops. They sway when moved, would swing with the movement of walking, provide protection without impeding motion. The gauntlets are perhaps the most complex pieces of all. Hands must grip, must manipulate, must hold weapons, hold reins. The gauntlets must protect every part of the hand, every finger, every knuckle, the palm, the back of the hand, the wrist, but must allow full articulation, full dexterity. This requires dozens of tiny plates, each finger covered with multiple small pieces, overlapping, hinged, sliding. The thumb alone requires 5 plates, each finger 4 plates. The back of the hand, the palm, plate after tiny plate, each one shaped, each one articulated. The armorer works on the gauntlets with intense concentration. The pieces are so small, the margins for error so tight. He cuts tiny patterns, raises tiny plates over tiny stakes, planishes them with the lightest touches. Ting-ting-ting. The sound is quieter now, gentler, the plates are delicate. He drills holes barely visible to the eye, inserts rivets as thin as pins, peens them with the lightest taps. Tap, 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 tap. Each joint must work, must flex. He tests each finger articulation. Bends it, straightens it, adjusts if necessary, drills new holes, repositions rivets, tests again. Hours pass. The gauntlet slowly takes shape. Complex mechanical hands, made of steel. When finished, he flexes them. The fingers curl, straighten. Each joint works independently, yet all work together. The gauntlet can grip, can open, can make a fist, can point, all while being entirely made of metal, entirely protective. It is a marvel, a triumph of articulation, of understanding how parts work together, how motion can be preserved even in rigid materials, through careful design, through precision, through craft. He sets the completed gauntlets aside. His hands ache. His eyes are tired from the close work, but he is not finished. The gorget remains, the neck defense, a circular collar, made of overlapping plates, opening at the front, closing with a latch, fitting snugly around the throat and extending down to rest on the shoulders, protecting the vulnerable neck from sword cuts, from arrows. He shapes the plates, smaller work, but familiar work, heat, strike, planish, drill, rivet. The rhythm continues. The night is fading. Dawn approaches. Grey light begins to filter through the high windows. The armorer notices but does not stop. The gorget is completed, set aside with the other pieces. Now only the helmet remains, but that is a work in itself, a separate project, not begun tonight. The armorer stands, stretches, looks at the pieces spread across his benches, arranged on wooden racks, hanging from hooks. So many pieces, the breastplate, the backplate, the pauldrons, the vambraces, the gauntlets, the cuisses, the polins, the greaves, the sabatons, the tassets, the gorget, each piece carefully shaped, carefully articulated, each piece connected to the others, or ready to be connected. The major assembly is complete. The armor can be worn, can protect, can move. But there is still finishing work to be done. The surfaces must be polished more, must be brought to a high shine, or darkened with oil and heat to a deep blue-black, the choice of finish, the addition of decorative elements, engraved lines, etched patterns, perhaps brass edges, perhaps gold details if the client can afford it, the lining. Leather padding must be attached to the inside surfaces, to protect the wearer's skin from the hard steel, to absorb sweat, to provide comfort. Straps must be adjusted. Buckles tested under load. The fit must be checked on the actual wearer, adjusted if necessary. All of this remains, but the fundamental work is done. The shaping is complete. The articulation is functioning. The flat sheets of steel have been transformed, have become a suit of plate armor, a wearable fortress, a second skin of metal. The armorer allows himself a moment of satisfaction. This is his craft. This is his art. The transformation of the formless into the formed. The turning of rigid material into something that moves, that lives, that protects while allowing life. Outside, the city is waking. Shutters open. Smoke rises from chimneys. The first sounds of morning activity echo in the streets. But inside the armory, the sounds are different. The ring of metal, the rhythm of the hammer, the eternal work of shaping steel. The armorer will rest soon, will eat, will sleep. But the work will resume, always resumes. There are always more orders, always more armor to make, always more steel to shape. And somewhere a knight is waiting, waiting for the armor that will protect him in battle. That will save his life. That will allow him to fulfill his duties, his oaths. The armor is not just metal, it is a promise, a contract. The armorer promises to make it well, to make it true, to make it strong. And he does, with every strike of the hammer, with every careful measurement, with every precisely placed rivet. He keeps that promise. Clang, clang, ting-ting-ting, the sounds of the armory. The sounds of creation, the sounds that never end. Lames are what make the armor breathe. Without the lames, the armor would be rigid plates. The knight could not bend his elbow, could not flex his knee, could not move his spine. He would be trapped inside a steel coffin. But the lames change everything. The lames are narrow strips of metal, perhaps 2 inches wide, perhaps 3, curved to fit the body. And the secret is this: they overlap. They layer over each other, like shingles on a roof, like scales on a serpent. And where they overlap, they can slide, can move, can allow the rigid steel to accommodate the bending of joints, the flexing of muscle, the movement of bone. The armorer has already created some lames. The pauldrons are made of lames, 5 overlapping plates for each shoulder, but there are more lames to make. The elbows require lames. The backs of the knees require lames. The waist requires lames. Anywhere the body must bend significantly, anywhere a single plate would restrict. The lames solve the problem. They are the compromise between protection and mobility, and they must be made with absolute precision. The armorer selects his patterns for the elbow lames. Small patterns. 5 pieces for each elbow, each piece a gentle curve. A segment of a cone, he marks steel sheets, cuts them. 10 pieces total. 5 for the right arm, 5 for the left. He examines each piece, checks the curves. These must match exactly, must overlay exactly. Any variation and they will bind, will catch, will prevent the arm from moving smoothly. He takes the pieces to the fire, the familiar ritual, the waiting, the watching for cherry red. The glow emerges. He removes the first piece with tongs, carries it to a small raising stake. This stake is different, shaped specifically for lames. A gentle convex curve, mounted horizontally. He lays the heated lame over the stake, takes up a smaller raising hammer, begins to strike, clang, clang, but lighter than before, controlled. The lame must not become too deeply curved, just enough. Just the right amount to match the curve of an elbow when bent. He rotates the lame, strikes again. Clang, clang, the metal moves, curves, deepens slightly. Heat and strike, heat and strike. The first lame takes shape, then the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, each one slightly different. The top lame, which sits closest to the shoulder, has one curve. The bottom lame, which sits closest to the forearm, has a different curve. Each lame in between transitions gradually. The armorer knows these curves by heart, has made them so many times that his hands shape them automatically. No measuring, no checking against templates, just feel, just experience. Clang, clang, the hammer falls, the steel curves, the lames emerge. Then the planishing, each lame placed on a curved stake, the small planishing hammer taken up. Ting-ting-ting, the rapid strikes, the surface smoothing, becoming glossy, reflective, one lame, then the next, then the next, ting-ting-ting, ting-ting-ting. The sound fills the armory. The rhythm is hypnotic, eternal. The light catches on the smoothing steel, gleams, dances, ting-ting-ting. When all 10 lames are shaped and smoothed, the armorer lays them out on his bench. 5 for the right elbow, 5 for the left. He arranges them in order, top to bottom, overlapping them slightly. Perhaps a half-inch of overlap, perhaps less. He examines the arrangement critically. The curves must nest together, must create a smooth, continuous surface when laid out, when the elbow is straight. But when the elbow bends, the lames must slide apart, must separate at the front while closing at the back. This is how they accommodate the bend, how they allow motion while maintaining protection. The armorer marks the overlap points, small scratches with his awl. This is where the rivets will go, but these rivets are different. These are not the simple rivets used on the pauldrons, not rivets that hold 2 pieces firmly together while allowing a small amount of play. These are sliding rivets, the most clever mechanism in the entire suit of armor, the secret that makes articulation possible. He takes the first 2 lames, the top 2. He marks 3 points along the overlap where the rivets will go. But he does not drill round holes, not in the bottom lame. In the top lame, yes, 3 round holes, drilled through, clean circles. But in the bottom lame, he marks 3 slots, long slots, perhaps half an inch long, perhaps a bit more. These slots will allow the rivet to slide, to travel, to move back and forth as the lames shift position relative to each other. Cutting the slots is delicate work. He uses a small chisel, hardened steel, sharp. He positions the lame on a wooden block, places the chisel at the beginning of the marked slot, taps it with a hammer, tap, tap, tap. The chisel bites into the steel, cuts a small groove. He moves the chisel forward slightly, taps again, tap, tap. Slowly the slot takes shape, a long oval, a rectangle with rounded ends. He works carefully. The slot must be smooth, must not have rough edges that would catch the rivet, would impede its movement. He files the slot smooth, uses a small file, back and forth, back and forth, the rasp of metal on metal. The slot becomes perfect, clean, smooth. 3 slots in the first lame, 3 in the second, 3 in the third, 3 in the fourth. Only the bottom lame has no slots. It will be riveted directly to the vambrace, will not slide. But all the others have slots. Each lame has 3 slots. Each slot carefully cut, carefully filed. The work is tedious, precise. The armorer's eyes are close to the steel, his hands steady. The chisel taps, tap, tap. The file rasps, shhhk, shhhk, slot after slot. Hours of work, but essential work. Without these slots, the lames cannot slide, cannot articulate, cannot function. When all the slots are cut and smoothed, the armorer begins assembly. He takes the bottom lame, drills 3 holes in it, round holes, places it on his bench, takes the next lame up, the one with slots, positions it overlapping the first, aligns the holes in the top lame with the slots in the bottom lame, takes a brass rivet, a special rivet, longer than the ones used before, thinner. He inserts the rivet through the hole in the top lame, through the slot in the bottom lame. The rivet slides through easily, protrudes from both sides. Now comes the crucial part. He must form heads on the rivet, must pin it over on both sides. But he must not pin it tight, must not pull the 2 lames together firmly. There must be space between them, room for them to slide against each other. He places the assembly on a small anvil, takes his ball-peen hammer, taps the end of the rivet. Gently, very gently, the brass spreads, forms a small head. But he does not flatten it completely, does not make it tight. He leaves it loose. He can feel the looseness, can feel the play in the rivet. He taps it a bit more. The head grows, but still loose, still allowing movement. He flips the assembly over, taps the other end. Another head forms, loose, allowing movement. He tests the connection, slides the top lame back and forth. The rivet travels in the slot. shhhhk, shhhhk, a soft metallic sliding sound. The lame moves smoothly. The rivet does not bind, does not catch. Perfect. He inserts the second rivet, peens it loose. The third rivet, peens it loose. Now 2 lames are connected, can slide against each other, can articulate. He adds the third lame, positions it. The holes in this lame align with the slots in the lame below, more rivets, peened loose. The third lame can now slide over the second. And because the second can slide over the first, all 3 can move together, or separately, or in any combination. The articulation is beginning to work. He adds the 4th lame, the 5th lame, each one with its rivets through slots, each rivet loose, allowing sliding, allowing movement. When all 5 lames are assembled, he picks up the complete elbow articulation, holds it in both hands, bends it. The lames slide over each other. Clack, clack, clack. The sound of metal sliding on metal. The sound of the rivets traveling in their slots. The sound of articulation. He bends it more. The lames at the front separate, creating gaps, but the lames at the back press together, closing any gaps. The protection remains complete even though the position has changed. He straightens it. Clack, clack, clack. The lames slide back, return to their overlapped position. The gaps close at the front, open at the back. The entire assembly is fluid, flexible, a rigid material made flexible through cleverness, through understanding, through craft. He attaches the completed elbow articulation to the armor, rivets the bottom lame to the top of the vambrace, rivets the top lame to the bottom of the pauldron. Now the arm defense is complete, shoulder to wrist. Fully articulated, he flexes it, bends the elbow joint, clack, 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 the lames slide. The arm can bend, can straighten, can move through its full range of motion. all while being completely encased in steel, protected, safe. He sets it aside, begins work on the second elbow. 5 more lames, cutting, shaping, planishing, slotting, riveting, clang, ting-ting-ting, tap, shhhhk, clack, clack. The sounds layer, overlap, create their own rhythm. The knees receive the same treatment, lames behind the polin, allowing the leg to bend, to flex. The waist receives lames, a fold, multiple lames hanging from the bottom edge of the breastplate, allowing the torso to bend forward, to twist. Each set of lames is the same process, the same precision, the same careful slotting and loose riveting, the same testing, the same satisfaction when they move smoothly. Clack, 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 the sound of articulated armor. The sound that tells you the knight can move, can fight, can live inside his steel skin. But the most delicate work, the most challenging articulation, the finest expression of the armorer's craft, this is the gauntlet. The armorer has already shaped the main plates of the gauntlets, the large pieces that cover the back of the hand, the palm, the wrist, but the fingers are a different matter entirely. The fingers require dozens of tiny scales, each scale covering one segment of one finger, each scale connected to the next with the smallest rivets imaginable, each scale allowing the finger to bend, to curl, to grip. The armorer begins with a leather glove, not the finished gauntlet, but the foundation, a glove made of soft, supple leather, carefully sewn, fitted to the hand. The fingers of this glove are separate, individual, each finger a tube of leather. This glove will go inside the gauntlet, will sit against the skin, and the scales will be attached to the outside of this leather glove, will be riveted to it, so that when the fingers bend, the leather bends and the scales slide over each other, protecting the leather, protecting the hand beneath. He lays the glove on his bench, spreads the fingers, examines them. Each finger will receive 4 scales on the top, 4 scales covering the finger from knuckle to tip. The underside of the finger will be leather only, allowing the finger to bend inward freely. The scales are only on top, only on the back of the finger, where a sword might strike, where protection is needed. The armorer has prepared tiny sheets of steel for this work. Thin steel, thinner than any other piece in the armor, perhaps a 1/16 of an inch thick, delicate. He cuts small patterns, tiny rectangles, curved slightly, each pattern for one scale, one segment of one finger. He cuts them from the thin steel with small shears. Snip, snip, the steel parts. Tiny pieces fall free, each one perhaps an inch long, half an inch wide, curved, like the segment of a tiny tube. He must shape these pieces, must give them the precise curve to fit over a finger segment. But they are so small, too small for the raising stake, too small for the normal hammers. He has special tools for this work. A tiny anvil, no larger than a coin, mounted on his bench. A tiny hammer, the head no larger than a thimble. He takes the first scale, heats it, but not in the fire. The piece is too small, would be lost in the coals. He heats it with a smaller flame, a spirit lamp, alcohol burning with a pale blue flame. He holds the scale with tweezers, passes it through the flame. The steel heats, glows faintly red. He places it on the tiny anvil, takes up the tiny hammer, begins to tap, ting, ting. The sound is high, delicate, almost a musical note. The scale curves, takes shape, matches the curve of a finger. He examines it, holds it against the leather glove, against the first segment of the index finger. The curve is right. Good. He sets it aside, takes the next scale, heats it, shapes it. Ting, ting. Then the next, then the next. 4 scales for the index finger, 4 for the middle finger, 4 for the ring finger, 4 for the little finger. The thumb receives 5 scales. It is longer, needs more coverage. 21 scales for one hand, 42 for both. Each scale must be shaped, each one heated, hammered. The work is incredibly tedious, incredibly precise. The armorer's eyes ache from the close work, but he continues, scale after scale. Ting, ting, the tiny hammer taps, the tiny anvil rings, the scales take shape, pile up on the bench. Tiny curved pieces of steel, gleaming, perfect. When all the scales are shaped, they must be planished, must be smoothed. He uses the smallest planishing hammer, a hammer so small it could fit in a child's hand, the face polished like glass. He taps each scale. Ting-ting-ting, rapid, delicate taps. The surfaces smooth, become glossy. Each scale becomes a tiny mirror, reflecting the light. Beautiful, functional, ting-ting-ting. The sound is almost like rain, like tiny drops hitting a metal roof. Continuous, hypnotic. Now comes the attachment. Each scale must be riveted to the leather glove, must be positioned exactly. The armorer takes the first scale, the tip scale for the index finger. He positions it on the leather, at the very tip of the finger, overlapping the leather slightly. He marks through the scale, two small darts on the leather, where the rivets will go. He removes the scale, takes a leather punch, a tiny punch, hardly larger than a pin. He punches through the leather at the marked points, two tiny holes. He replaces the scale, aligns it, threads a rivet through from the inside of the glove, through the leather, through the hole in the scale. The rivet is incredibly small, no thicker than a needle, made of brass, soft, easy to work. He uses tiny pliers to hold the rivet, uses a tiny hammer to peen the end. Tap, tap, the gentlest taps, the brass spreads, forms a minuscule head, hardly visible, but enough to hold. He inserts the second rivet, taps it, tap, tap. The scale is now attached to the leather, secure, but the scale can still flex slightly, can still move with the leather beneath it. He takes the second scale, the next segment of the finger. He positions it overlapping the first scale. The overlap is perhaps an eighth of an inch. No more, he must be precise. Too much overlap and the finger will be stiff. Too little and there will be gaps. He marks, punches, rivets, tap, 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 tap. The second scale is attached. Now two scales protect the finger. He tests the flexibility, bends the leather finger. The scales slide over each other. Slight movement. Enough. Good. Third scale, fourth scale. Each one positioned, punched, riveted, tap, 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 tap. The work is meditative, repetitive. The tiny sounds fill the armory, the clink of brass rivets, the tap of the tiny hammer, the slight rasp of steel sliding over leather. The index finger is complete, four scales, protecting from knuckle to tip, articulated, flexible. He flexes the finger. The scales move, clack, clack in miniature. The sound is soft, almost inaudible, but there, the proof of articulation. Middle finger, four more scales. Mark, punch, rivet, tap, 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 tap. The hours pass. The light in the armory changes. Morning becomes afternoon. The armorer works on. His concentration never wavers. His hands never falter. Ring finger, little finger, each one receiving its scales. Each scale carefully positioned, carefully riveted. The right hand glove slowly transforms. Leather becomes armored, becomes a gauntlet, but still flexible, still capable of gripping, of holding a sword, a lance. Reins. The thumb is the most complex. The thumb must oppose the fingers, must move in multiple directions. Five scales for the thumb, but positioned differently, angled differently, allowing the range of motion the thumb needs. The armorer works carefully, tests each scale's position before riveting, ensures the movement is preserved. Tap, 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 tap. The thumb is complete. The right hand is complete. He holds up the glove, slips his own hand inside, flexes the fingers, makes a fist, opens the hand, points. The scales move with each motion, slide over each other. Clack, 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 softly. The protection is complete. The articulation is perfect. The gauntlet works. He removes it, sets it aside, takes up the left-hand glove, begins again. 21 more scales. Mark, punch, rivet, tap, tap. The rhythm continues, never changes, never ends. When both gauntlets are complete, 42 scales attached, the armorer examines his work. The gauntlets are marvels, each finger fully protected, fully articulated. He sets them with the other pieces. The armor is now complete, every piece shaped, every articulation functioning. The breastplate, the backplate, the pauldrons, the vambraces, the gauntlets, the fold, the cuisses, the polins, the greaves, the sabatons, the gorget, the tassets, every piece necessary to protect a man from head to toe. every piece connected, working together, a system, a complete harness. But the armor is not finished. Not yet. The pieces are functional, articulated, but they are still gray, still the color of raw steel. The surfaces are smooth from planishing, but not polished, not gleaming, not beautiful, and beauty matters not for vanity, but because a knight who wears beautiful armor is a knight who takes pride, who maintains his equipment, who respects his craft, who projects power, who intimidates enemies. The armor must be polished, must shine, must look like the precious object it is. The armorer has two methods for polishing. The first is tumbling, for small pieces, for lames, for scales. He takes a wooden barrel, perhaps 2 feet in diameter, perhaps 3 feet long, mounted on an axle with handles, like a butter churn. Inside the barrel he places sand, clean river sand, washed, dried. He adds oil, linseed oil, just enough to make the sand slightly damp. He adds vinegar, just a splash. The acid will help clean the steel, remove any surface rust, any discoloration from the fire. Places the small pieces into the barrel, the lames from one elbow, the scales from one gauntlet, pieces that are already attached to each other, that work as assemblies. He closes the barrel, begins to turn the handles, the barrel rotates, the pieces inside tumble, roll, slide against each other, against the sand. The sand is abrasive, wears away the surface, smooths it, the oil lubricates, prevents scratching. The vinegar cleans, the barrel turns, around and around. The armorer maintains a steady rhythm. Turn, turn, turn. Inside the sound of metal sliding, clacking, the sand shifting, whispering. He turns the barrel for an hour, 2 hours. Periodically he stops, opens the lid, removes a piece, examines it. The steel is brighter, cleaner. The gray is becoming silver. He wipes the piece with a cloth, removes the sand and oil. The steel gleams, but not enough, not yet. He returns the piece to the barrel, continues turning. Turn, turn, turn. The sound is soothing, rhythmic. The barrel rotates. The pieces tumble. The sand polishes. After many hours, he opens the barrel again, removes the pieces. They shine. The steel is bright, silver, reflective. The sand has smoothed even the finest scratches, has brought out the luster of the metal. He washes the pieces in clean water, removes all the sand, all the oil, dries them carefully, examines them in the light. They gleam, perfect. But the larger pieces cannot be tumbled. The breastplate, the backplate, the pauldrons, these must be polished by hand. The armorer takes up a piece of pumice stone, rough volcanic rock, porous, abrasive. He wets it slightly, takes the breastplate, begins to rub the pumice over the surface. Long, smooth strokes, following the curves, the pumice scrapes, grinds, removes the fine texture left by the planishing hammer. The steel begins to brighten. He works systematically, section by section, rubbing, rubbing. His arm moves in long, even strokes, back and forth, back and forth. The sound is a soft rasping. S-H-H-H-H-H-H-K, S-H-H-H-H-H-H-K, continuous, meditative. The pumice wears down, becomes smoother. He continues, rubbing. The steel becomes brighter, smoother. He can see his reflection in it, distorted by the curves, but there. After the pumice, he switches to finer abrasives, crushed charcoal, mixed with oil, rubbed on with a cloth. The cloth moves in circles, small circles, overlapping. The charcoal is finer than the pumice, polishes more finely. The steel becomes brighter still, more reflective. The circles continue, around, around. The cloth whispers against the steel. The armorer's hand never stops, never tires. After the charcoal, finer still, chalk dust. White chalk ground to powder, mixed with vinegar to make a paste, applied with soft leather, rubbed in tiny circles. The paste dries, is rubbed away, buffed. The steel becomes brilliant, like a mirror, like water, like quicksilver. The reflection is clear, undistorted except by the curve of the plate. The armorer buffs the breastplate until it shines like the sun, until it hurts to look at it in bright light. He works on each piece, one by one, the backplate, the pauldrons, the cuisses, the greaves, each piece pumiced, charcoaled, chalked, each piece rubbed for hours until it shines, until it gleams, until it reflects the world around it. The work is exhausting. His arms ache. His shoulders burn, but he continues. The rhythm of polishing is its own meditation. The cloth circles, the stone rubs, the steel brightens. S-H-H-H-H-H-H-K. S-H-H-H-H-H-H-K. Around, around, the sounds blend, layer. Create a continuous whisper of transformation. Days pass. The polishing continues. The armorer sleeps, eats, returns to work. The pile of polished pieces grows. The pile of unpolished pieces shrinks. Finally, the last piece, the last greave, receives its final buffing, is set aside gleaming. The armor is complete, truly complete, every piece shaped, articulated, polished, beautiful, functional, perfect. The armorer gathers all the pieces, carries them to a wooden rack, a special rack, built to hold a complete suit of armor, shaped like a man, like a standing figure, arms slightly outstretched, legs slightly apart. He begins to assemble the armor on the rack. This is the final test, the proof that everything fits, everything works, everything is correct. He starts with the torso, hangs the breastplate on the front of the rack, hangs the backplate on the back, threads the leather straps through the buckles, secures them. The torso defense is in place, gleaming, curved, a steel chest, empty, waiting. He attaches the pauldrons, hanging them from the shoulders. They swing freely, articulate. He attaches the vambraces to the pauldrons. The arms of the armor take shape. He adds the gauntlets to the vambraces. The arms are complete, steel from shoulder to fingertip. He flexes one arm at the elbow. Clack, clack, clack. The lames slide. The articulation works. The legs. He attaches the cuisses to the bottom of the breastplate, hanging from their straps. Attaches the polins to the cuisses, the greaves to the polins, the sabatons to the greaves. The legs are complete, steel from hip to toe. He attaches the fold around the waist, the tassets hanging from it. He attaches the gorget around the neck. The armor is assembled, a complete harness, standing on the rack, looking like a man, but empty, hollow, no one inside. The armorer steps back, examines the suit. The light from the windows catches on the polished steel, dances across the surfaces. The armor gleams, shines, looks alive. The curves are perfect, following the curves of a human body, but idealized, perfected. The articulations are perfect. Every joint moves, every lame slides. Clack, clack, clack when disturbed. The whole suit is a symphony of metal, of craft, of human ingenuity. He walks around the armor, examines it from every angle, checks every rivet, every strap, every buckle, tests every articulation, flexes the arms, bends the legs, everything works, everything is correct. This armor will protect, will serve, will keep a knight alive in battle, will turn blades, stop arrows, resist lance points, will do its job. And it is beautiful, a work of art, as much sculpture as equipment. The curves, the shine, the perfection of form following function. The armorer is satisfied. This is good work, his best work, the culmination of weeks of labor, hundreds of hours, thousands of hammer blows, tens of thousands of small, precise motions, all leading to this, a complete suit of plate armor, ready for its owner, ready for war, ready for life. But for now, the armor stands alone. The workshop is quiet. The fire has burned down. The coals glow faintly orange, then red, then dark. The light outside fades. Evening comes. The armorer lights no candles tonight. He is finished. The work is done. He stands in the dimness, looking at the armor on its rack. The steel catches what little light remains, glows softly, like moonlight, like starlight. The armorer leaves the workshop, closes the door. The armor remains, standing in the darkness, silent, still, waiting. The sounds of the day fade, the clang of the raising hammer, the ting-ting-ting of the planishing hammer, the tap-tap of the tiny riveting hammer, the clack-clack of the sliding lames, all silent now, all gone. Only the armor remains, standing, gleaming faintly, a guardian in the dark. Outside, the city sleeps. The streets are empty, the shops are closed, the houses are dark, people lie in their beds, safe, warm, dreaming. And in the armory, the armor stands, protecting nothing, guarding empty air, but ready, always ready. Should it be needed, should danger come, the armor will not fail, cannot fail. It was made too well, with too much care, too much skill, too much love. The steel is cold now, the forge is out, the tools rest on their benches, the hammers are silent, the anvils are still, everything is quiet, everything is peaceful. The armor stands in the darkness like a promise, like a prayer, like a guardian angel made of metal, empty but present, silent but powerful, waiting but ready. And you are safe. The armor stands between you and the dangers of the world, between you and the chaos, between you and the fear. It stands watch, it guards, it protects, even empty, even unused. Its very existence is a comfort, a promise that protection is possible. That craft can create safety. That human hands can shape cold steel into a shelter, into a second skin, into hope. The workshop is silent now, completely silent. No hammers, no fire, no footsteps, only the gentle darkness, only the soft presence of the armor, standing, waiting, protecting. The shadows are deep, the air is still, everything is calm, everything is peaceful, everything is safe. The armor's surfaces gleam faintly in the darkness, reflecting nothing, reflecting everything. The polished steel holds the memory of light, holds the memory of the day, the work, the care, the precision, all of it stored in the metal, all of it present in the curves, in the articulations, in the perfect fit of every piece. Sleep comes to the city, to the houses, to the people, and the armory sleeps too. The armor stands in its sleep, dreaming metal dreams, dreams of battle, of protection, of service, but also dreams of peace, of safety, of stillness. The armor dreams and you dream with it, safe in your bed, protected by the knowledge that such things exist. That craftsmen labor to create safety. That metal can be shaped into shelter, that the world, though dangerous, contains guardians. The darkness deepens, the night settles, the workshop is a pool of stillness. The armor stands at its center, a silver shadow, a gleaming presence, empty but full, silent but speaking, still but alive with potential. It waits for morning, for light, for its owner. But for now it simply stands, simply is, simply exists as a testament to human skill, to patience, to craft, to care. And you sleep. Your breathing slows, deepens, becomes rhythmic, like the hammers, like the polishing, like the turning of the tumbling barrel. In, out, slow, steady, peaceful. The armor stands guard over your sleep, over your peace, over your safety. It will stand all night, will stand all the nights to come, unchanging, unwavering, eternal in its purpose, in its protection, in its silent, steadfast presence. The steel is cold, the fire is out, the workshop is dark, but you are warm, you are safe, you are protected, the armor stands, the night deepens, the city sleeps, and you sleep too, deep, peaceful, guarded by the knowledge of craft, by the presence of protection, by the gleaming suit of armor standing in the darkness, waiting, watching, keeping you safe, always, forever, in the deep, quiet darkness of the night. Sleep now, the armor stands, the workshop is still, the fire is out, everything is safe, everything is peaceful, everything is well. The metal gleams softly, the darkness holds you gently. The night wraps around you like a blanket, like leather padding inside steel. Soft, protective, warm, you are safe, the armor stands, the world sleeps. And you sleep too, deep, peaceful, protected, safe.